right, Rob Donald, Banks Peninsula Trust. Good morning.
Good morning. Before I cough, hopefully I won't cough too much. Excuse me. I recommend, if you haven't had the time, to read our 17-page submission on the long-term plan. It's a good read. The Trust is proud of what it has achieved. It looks forward to what it can achieve in the future. It's looking very much to the future in that submission. I assure you, as I said, it's worth reading. Maureen McCloy, the Trust Deputy Chair, will mainly present the submission, and it's supported by Suki Thompson, who operate the slides, as it were. The Trust seeks to build on what it has achieved. The Trust wants to strengthen its relationship with Council through working together on a set of shared projects over the next 3 years, and we want to extend out over the 10-year period of the long-term plan. The Trust supports the community outcomes identified in the long-term plan and suggests they be strengthened by recognising, firstly, the outdoor recreation is a key contributor to the Christchurch identity, a livable city, high quality of life, and the role that Banks Peninsula can play in this. That's very significant. The opportunity for biodiversity gain and carbon sequestration on Banks Peninsula.
I just want to talk about the four points that we particularly want to draw to your attention. But firstly, just to say, Banks Peninsula is this, it's a treasure for the benefit of all of us in the wider Christchurch area. It's an incredible location, as I'm sure you'll know, for recreation and relaxation. So I'll just start by talking about parks and tracks. We ask you to prioritise the quality of the existing Banks Peninsula tracks that are there already, and you have already allocated funding for this. In particular, we're thinking about the peri-urban tracks, the signage, installation and maintenance. We're particularly talking about Akaroa, Diamond Harbour and Littleton. We ask you to focus on the Mount Herbert walkway. The improvements to that, it's being very well used, and there are parts of that, particularly in Morgan's Gully, that are in very poor condition. The Te Ara Patika track that runs along the crest of Banks Peninsula. In particular, we ask you to focus on the council managed section, which is Gebby's Pass to Packles Hut, and there are underlying unformed legal roads that we would like you to focus on. In relation to the head-to-head walkway, your support and allocating budget for that to support the work that we're doing. In a collective manner, we're working on access for the new sections that are being worked on there. This is the walkway that is going to eventually run from Godley Head all the way around the harbour, round to Adelaide Head. Is it going to go that far? Mm-hmm. We also ask that when you're making land acquisitions that they are strategic and that they do have multiple outcomes for access, recreation as well as biodiversity. Speaking of biodiversity, what we really want to draw your attention to is to the support for the Pest-Free Banks Peninsula Working Group. This is a collective, collaborative approach through a number of agencies, including the Trust. In relation to Pest-Free, we are starting with the goats, and we're asking that you allocate 35,000 in your budget which would match our investment towards goat eradication. This is in the coming financial year, but of course Pest-Free Banks Peninsula is not a one-year task. It is long running, and we are therefore recommending that you allocate budget every year to support this. In relation to visitor management, we're asking you to develop a visitor management plan for Banks Peninsula. I just was reflecting on what was just said before, and it's this part of we're saying the same thing. We need to sustainably manage visitors on Banks Peninsula. We specifically are asking that you install a simple low-cost toilet in Tumbledown Bay. This is an area that is getting a lot of usage. There is no toilet for many, many kilometres. It is a sensitive area and there is nothing there for visitors. We see that this could be a collaborative community project that would solve a significant issue. There was some comment just before about freedom camping. We also believe that greater management is required, and in our view, camping should be permitted in managed campgrounds only. The fourth point that I want to make is around policy development, and we ask you to develop policy on the following areas, and we're happy to engage with you, of course, on this. The management of unformed legal roads. There are many on the peninsula. It is not clear exactly how they are to be managed for walking or cycling, and we would also ask for an ability for restriction of motorised vehicles on unformed legal roads to also be implemented. We're particularly interested in walking and cycling, and we would like clarity around access of those unformed legal roads. We support the concept of roads of natural significance. There are many roads on Banks Peninsula that, yes, they're there for vehicles, but in fact, there is additional value they can bring in relation to biodiversity and recreation, and we recommend that those remote roads be supported that way. More about that in our submission. We're aware that the Teoka and Misty Peaks reserves, that are council reserves, they comprise a fifth of the regional parks on the peninsula, but we have not seen a reserve management plan for either of those reserves. So we recommend that a management plan be developed and budget be allocated. Access onto both of those areas is relatively restricted, and so a management plan would be extremely useful there. And finally, our last point in relation to this is that we ask you to manage all of the parks and the tracks and the reserves on Banks Peninsula with a strengthened regional parks team. At the moment, some of it is done by the urban parks team, some of it is done by the regional team. That's actually inefficient. We believe that you could gain much greater efficiency in our experience by it all being done by the regional parks team and with an enhanced team, because there has been a proposal for some time that a dedicated Banks Peninsula based ranger be engaged, and we believe that should be implemented. We think that would assist with efficiency but also engagement with all of the various stakeholders on the peninsula. So I'll just hand that back to Simon.
The Trust has operated very effectively with MOUs, with DOC for one organisation, and with other NGOs in this field as well. And so we think it's a great way to do business, a great way to get effective outcomes by having relationships born through structures such as that. And we're basically seeking a similar situation with council. We have the statement of intent, as you know, but we think that is not an effective vehicle for getting cooperation between council and CCO, the trust. So we're wanting to hold discussions at a governance and senior management level on collaborative projects that can be worked over the coming years, and an MOU can assist in that respect. The trust would also like to discuss its role and work over the next 10 years life of the LTP. We had anticipated lasting only probably another 5 years, but we think it's more important that the work of the trust continue beyond that and develop shared projects for an inclusion in the next LTP, getting ahead of ourselves. Basically, the trustees and the trust manager are energised by the prospect of working with council. It's on a collaborative basis to implement shared goals. We see the trust playing a significant role for the next 3 years and beyond. We think we're there for the long haul, not simply for the period that the funding line would last. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was particularly interested in the unformed legal roads not forming part of the regional infrastructure, so that's something I've taken a note of, so thank you for raising that. Does anyone have any questions? Phil?
Thank you very much for your very full submission. You point out some of the contradictions too in the targets and the service plans for tracks, and also that there's no further funding proposed. Just wonder if you might comment on that. I've got another little question too.
one of the things that, when we've been thinking about all this, is that the collaborative approach is something that would really help the council to achieve that aim of increasing the quantity of parks and tracks available on the peninsula. And we're just going to come around and give you all a copy of our Banks Peninsula Walks book and also the Te Ara Pataka brochure. So what we've done in the book is we've pulled together all the tracks that are on Banks Peninsula, regardless of what agency actually owns the underlying land. And you'll see that actually there's a lot of resource out there, both in terms of reserves and in terms of tracks. And Te Ara Pataka is our collaboration with Department of Conservation. So we've done a joint brochure together with them, and there's 71 kilometres of track in here. And we think maybe the way forward to help you achieve those excellent targets that you've got in the long-term plan is to work with the Trust as a sort of middleman, as it were, to bring collaboration between all the different groups and then start counting the whole resource, because from a user perspective it doesn't really matter whether it's the council that owns a piece of track or dock or a public reserve of some other sort, and we think that's probably the way forward.
Can I briefly add, the dock sees it as a very important relationship with the Trust. We see a similar role with Trust and Council.
Thank you. Look, thank you very much. That's and thank you for the booklet too. I think you'll find a number of councillors encouraged to get out and explore some of the environment as a result of that. So thank you very much for your submission this morning.
Can I come?
One of the staff members will come and do that for you. Thank you.